There are moments when the truth crashes down like thunder, shattering the lies we have built around ourselves. Moments when we can no longer hide from what we have done. Moments when someone speaks words that strip away every defense and leave us naked before our own sin. For David, that moment came on an ordinary morning, when a prophet walked into his throne room with a story. A simple story about sheep. But by the time that story was finished, David's world would be in ruins. I am the storyteller. I preserve and share stories of kings and queens, of prophets and warriors, of love and betrayal, stories that changed the world. And today, I will share one of them with you. This is episode 5 of 6 in the story of David and Bathsheba. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, the full playlist is in the description below. I recommend starting from episode 1 to get the complete story. If you enjoy epic and dramatic stories, like this video and follow the channel so you don't miss the next chapters of this saga. The morning began like any other. The sun rose over Jerusalem, painting the white stone buildings in shades of gold and pink. The city came alive with the sounds of merchants opening their stalls, children playing in the streets, animals bleating and braying. In the palace, servants prepared the throne room for the day's business. David would hold court, as he did most mornings, hearing disputes and making judgments. It was routine, expected, normal, but this day would be anything but normal. David sat on his throne, dressed in his royal robes, the crown heavy on his head. He looked every inch the king, powerful, confident, in control. But inside, he was hollow. The guilt he carried had become a constant companion, a weight that never lifted. Still, he had learned to function despite it. He had learned to wear the mask of righteousness even while his soul rotted underneath. His advisors stood nearby. Petitioners waited in line to present their cases. The machinery of government moved forward as it always did. And then Nathan entered. The prophet was announced by the door guards. Nathan, son of Attai, prophet of the Lord. The courtroom fell silent. When a prophet came to see the king, it meant something important. It meant God had a message. David straightened on his throne, trying to read Nathan's face. They had known each other for years. Nathan had been David's spiritual advisor, his connection to God's will. But they had not spoken in months. Not since before Bathsheba. Not since before Uriah. David felt a flutter of unease but pushed it down. Nathan bowed respectfully. "My Lord King, I have come to seek your judgment on a matter of justice." David relaxed slightly. A matter of justice. This was familiar territory. This was his role as king. "Tell me," he said. "I will hear your case." Nathan stepped forward, his voice clear and strong, carrying to every corner of the room. There were two men in a certain town. One was rich, the other poor. David nodded, settling in to hear the case. His advisors listened attentively. The courtroom was silent, except for Nathan's voice. The rich man owned vast flocks of sheep and cattle, thousands of animals, more than he could count. His wealth was enormous. He had everything a man could want. Nathan paused, letting the image settle in everyone's mind. Then he continued. The poor man had nothing. No flocks, no herds, no wealth. All he owned was one little lamb. One single lamb that he had bought with his meager savings. This lamb was precious to him. He raised it himself. He fed it by hand. It grew up with his children. It ate from his plate. It drank from his cup. It slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. David found himself leaning forward, caught up in the story. He could picture it clearly. The poor man with his one beloved lamb. The simplicity of that love, the purity of it. It reminded him of his own childhood, when he had been a shepherd boy caring for his father's flocks, when life had been simple and his heart had been clean. Nathan's voice grew harder. Now a traveler came to visit the rich man, and the rich man wanted to prepare a meal for his guest, but he did not want to take one of his own sheep or cattle. Oh no. Despite having thousands of animals, he was unwilling to touch his own flocks. The courtroom began to stir. People muttered to each other. David felt anger beginning to build in his chest. He could see where this was going. So the rich man went to the poor man's house, and he took the poor man's lamb, the only lamb he had, the lamb that was like a daughter to him. The rich man seized it, slaughtered it, and prepared it as a meal for his guest. The courtroom erupted. Advisors shook their heads in disgust. Guards muttered angrily. And David exploded from his throne, his face flushed with rage. His voice thundered through the room, silencing everyone. As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this deserves to die. He must pay for that lamb 4 times over, because he did such a thing and had no pity. David's chest heaved with righteous indignation. How dare that rich man? How could anyone be so cruel, so selfish, so utterly without conscience? To steal from someone who had nothing, to take the one precious thing a poor man owned. It was monstrous. It was evil. It demanded the harshest punishment. Death was too good for such a man. He should suffer. He should pay. He should be destroyed for his wickedness. The irony was perfect. David was condemning himself and did not know it. He was pronouncing judgment on his own sins while believing he was being righteous. He was playing the role of the just king, never realizing he was the villain in the story. And Nathan waited for David's rage to peak, waited for the self-righteous condemnation to pour out, waited for the perfect moment. And then, in the ringing silence that followed David's outburst, Nathan raised his hand. He pointed directly at the king. His voice was steady, calm, and absolutely devastating. You are that man. 3 words. Just 3 words. But they hit David like a physical blow. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His legs felt weak beneath him. The throne room seemed to spin. You are that man. Suddenly, horribly, David understood. The rich man in the story, the one with vast flocks and herds, that was him. The king with multiple wives and unlimited resources. The poor man with 1 lamb, that was Uriah. The loyal soldier with 1 wife he loved. And the lamb, the precious lamb that was stolen and slaughtered, that was Bathsheba. Nathan did not wait for David to recover. He pressed forward, his voice now carrying the full weight of divine authority. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Every word was a hammer blow. Every sentence stripped away another layer of David's defenses. I anointed you king over Israel. I delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave you your master's house and your master's wives. I gave you the house of Israel and Judah. And if all this had been too little, I would have given you even more. David's mind reeled. Everything he had, everything he was, had been given to him by God. The kingdom, the wealth, the victories, the wives, all of it. He had lacked nothing. He had needed nothing. And yet he had taken what was not his. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing what is evil in his eyes? Nathan's voice cut like a sword. You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and took his wife to be your own. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. The courtroom was frozen in shock. Advisors stared at David with dawning horror. Guards shifted uncomfortably. No one had known. No one had suspected. But now the truth was being proclaimed before everyone. The king was an adulterer. The king was a murderer. The king had betrayed his most loyal warrior. Nathan continued, relentless. Now, therefore, the sword will never depart from your house, because you despised me and took the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your own. David wanted to run, wanted to scream, wanted to deny it all. But he could not. The truth was out. The sin was exposed, and the judgment was being pronounced. This is what the Lord says. Nathan's voice grew even more terrible. Out of your own household I am going to bring calamity upon you. Before your very eyes I will take your wives and give them to one who is close to you, and he will lie with your wives in broad daylight. You did it in secret, but I will do this thing in broad daylight before all Israel. The prophecy was specific, devastating. David's own children would rebel against him. His own family would become his enemy. What he had done in secret would be done to him in public. The humiliation would be complete. The consequences would echo through generations. But Nathan was not finished. There was one more judgment, one more price to be paid, and this one would break David completely. Nathan's voice dropped, became almost gentle, which made the words even more terrible. The son born to you will die. David's knees buckled. He grabbed the arm of his throne to keep from falling. The child, Bathsheba's child. The innocent baby who had done nothing wrong. That child would die. No, David whispered. Please, no. But Nathan's face showed no mercy. This was God's judgment. This was the price of sin. David had despised God's word. He had taken what was not his. He had murdered an innocent man. And now the consequences would be paid in blood, in the blood of an innocent child. David collapsed onto his throne. All the strength went out of him, all the pretense, all the masks. Everything shattered. He was naked before God, before the prophet, before his court. Everyone now knew what he had done. Everyone now knew what he was. Not the hero who killed Goliath, not the righteous king who ruled with justice, but a murderer, an adulterer, a man who had betrayed everything he claimed to believe. The silence in the throne room was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. They watched their king crumble before their eyes, destroyed by the weight of his own sin. And then David did something unexpected, something that would define the rest of his story. He did not deny. He did not make excuses. He did not try to justify or explain. Instead, he looked at Nathan with tears streaming down his face, and he spoke two words, two simple words that contained a lifetime of anguish. I have sinned against the Lord. It was not a full confession. It did not capture the magnitude of what he had done, but it was truth. Raw, painful, devastating truth. David had finally stopped running from himself. He had finally faced what he was, a sinner, a broken man, a king who had fallen so far that he could not see the bottom. Nathan looked at him, and for just a moment, something like pity flickered in the prophet's eyes. "The Lord has taken away your sin," he said quietly. "You are not going to die." God's mercy was still there, even now. David would not be executed for his crimes. His life would be spared, but the consequences would still come. The sword would not depart from his house. His family would tear itself apart, and the child would die. Nathan turned and walked out of the throne room, his task completed. He left behind a broken king and a shocked court. David remained on his throne, weeping openly, no longer caring who saw. The advisors slowly filed out, not knowing what to say or do. The guards remained at their posts but kept their eyes averted. And David sat alone in his throne room, surrounded by the ruins of everything he had built. He had tried to hide his sin. He had tried to cover it with deception and murder. He had believed he could get away with it. But God had seen everything. And now everyone else knew too. The news would spread through Jerusalem like wildfire. By evening, everyone in the city would know what their king had done. By tomorrow, the story would reach the distant villages. Within a week, the entire nation would know that David, the man after God's own heart, had committed adultery and murder. His reputation was destroyed. His legacy was tarnished. His relationship with God was shattered, and the worst was still to come. Because at that very moment, in the palace chambers, Bathsheba was caring for their newborn son. A beautiful, healthy baby boy. A child who represented both hope and guilt. A child who would soon fall ill. A child who, according to Nathan's prophecy, would die as payment for his father's sin. Turn on notifications to be notified when the next chapter is released. And if you have a friend who would enjoy this story, share this video. See you in the next chapter.